My parents were in real estate as well. We were just like living the house of cards, and it fell. Everyone thought we were living this high life and everything was great, but behind the scenes we were living a racket.
2008 hits. There's actually probably not one person I know that doesn't have just massive scars from 2008. But your family fell apart in 2008.
One of the biggest things I saw there was my dad was gone all the time, trying to make money doing construction jobs out of town, traveling for work. And then when he was in town, it was just a racket. It was arguing, the finances were a mess, just different things like that. But I felt like I couldn't tell anybody.
When a child is in a home, when there's financial stress, kids feel it. No one likes to see dad upset. No one likes to see dad stressed. Nobody likes to see dad frustrated. The first place you went when you talked about sort of the down of your life, you mentioned your dad.
For me, it brings up a couple pain points. I was divorced as well, and I think some of that was contributed to some of the things that I learned from my father.
Right, you're right. You take it with you.
Because of what I experienced then, I did not want my future family to go through what I went through.
When you're a kid, it's hard to put yourself in your father's shoes, and so we'll hang on to shit. It'll screw us up in many cases. It may fuel us and become fuel that's really valuable.
Going through life, one of my biggest goals is to be a hero to my daughters.
All right, man, we got my boy Nathan Danner in the house today. Nathan, thank you for coming to Coeur d'Alene.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
But this is an Idaho guy. This is a guy down from Boise, south part of our state. But Nathan's a dear friend of mine. I've worked with Nathan for years. And I'll tell you something about Nathan. Nathan is a giant when it comes to real estate. This is someone that really is not big on social media. It's only recently that he's really started to step in the light, and it's because so many people see the talent and the gifts in him, and they've really challenged him to step in the light. So I'm honored to have him share his story, and give a lot of advice that he gives. Nathan has always given incredible advice. I've learned a lot from him myself, and it's really cool to have you. But I got to ask, man, the leg. What happened to the leg?
So I was in a car accident a couple months ago. Tore my ACL, my MCL. Car was totaled. So,
were your little girls in there?
They were, unfortunately.
No shit.
Yeah, they were. They were scared, and they didn't know. They've never been in a car accident before, and they were just like, "Should we be scared? Or should we be excited?" But
were they crying?
No.
Really?
Nuh-uh.
How old? Tell the audience how old your little girls. He's got twins.
Twin girls. Lucy and Hazel. They're 4. They'll be 5 this year. So
they're cute.
Thank you, man. They're my pride and joy.
I do business meetings with Nathan pretty regularly, and his little girls will jump on the call sometimes, and they're dolls.
Uncle Eric, they say hi every time.
They do. There's a reason. There's a reason you're so successful, man, for sure. You got a really great story. A lot of the Man on a Mission, what we do is we recognize that you can only go as high as we've once been low. I mean, it's kind of a universal theme, and almost everyone on the show really has a powerful mission. And even the people that wouldn't say that they have a powerful mission, like sort of how the actions of their life play out, they're in mission mode. Sometimes people haven't fully defined it, but they're living a life of courage, a life of resilience, a life of strength, a life of conviction, a life of action, and they're really living a hero's journey in a sense. So there's always sort of mission, a sort of underlying thing that makes people tick. So we like to always start low, man, and get a little bit of your story here, because I know you got a ton of practical advice, and some of the things me and you have talked about privately, I think are amazing topics to bring to light here for this audience that I've always been intrigued by. But take me back, man. Like, I know that 2008 was tough on you. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to start before that, but you were 15 in 2008?
Yeah, 15, 16.
What happened in 2008?
So my parents were in real estate as well, and I remember we were just like living the house of cards, and it fell. Everyone thought we were living this high life and everything was great, but behind the scenes we were living a racket.
Okay, hold up. So you had a house of cards that fell. You skipped through this really quick. Take me back to the 15-year-old that's living in a nice house on the river, right?
Yeah.
Okay, take me back to the emotion of that moment. 2008 hits, because everyone that was around in 2008, there's actually probably not one person I know that doesn't have just massive scars from 2008. Now, we're thinking about it, well, you especially were thinking about from the kid's perspective. I was thinking about it in my journey, my story, through more of the college level perspective, where I was starting to get a little bit of my stripes. Mm-hmm. I was coming out of my dark days, and I watched my family fall apart as well. But your family fell apart in 2008.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons, or one of the biggest things I saw there was my dad was gone all the time. trying to make money doing construction jobs out of town, traveling for work. And then when he was in town, it was just a racket. It was arguing. The finances were a mess, just different things like that. And so, but I felt like I couldn't tell anybody because.
Yeah, well, hold on. Number one, when a child is in a home when there's financial stress, kids feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the universal things for many kids when they think back to trauma. No one likes to see dad upset. No one likes to see dad stressed. Nobody likes to see dad frustrated. Nobody likes to see dad angry.
Ooh.
And everyone I know that has a powerful story seems to have daddy issues.
Yeah.
And the first place you went when you talked about sort of the down of your life was you mentioned your dad.
Yeah. And for me, it brings up a couple pain points. I was divorced as well, and I think some of that was contributed to some of the things that I learned from my father.
In the divorce. So now you're jumping ahead, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
right, you're right. You take it with you.
But because of what I experienced then, I did not want my future family to go through what I went through. I think going through life, one of my biggest goals is to be a hero to my daughters that you're talking about, and the way that my dad treated our family at that time, and he's made progress since then, and I think finances have a huge impact on how people react.
Yeah, I can resonate with that, man. It was, sometimes when you're a kid, it's hard to put yourself in your father's shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll hang on to shit. We have resentment. It'll screw us up in many cases. It may fuel us and become fuel that's really valuable in some cases, even though we still stack those chips on our shoulder. But when it comes to being a child in a home where there's a lot of yelling, a lot of stress, a lot of screaming, a lot of anger, and it's kind of fueled by financial collapse, it's stressful. Again, like, I'll be honest, it may be just as stressful as coming at a child out of a home where you're truly poor. Like in your case, your family had done really well, lived on the river.
Mm-hmm.
You're 15, and then the house of cards came falling down. The racket was revealed, and the tide went out. And your dad felt all the pressure of losing it all. And now as an adult, I know exactly what that could feel like. That could be the most debilitating stress a human can have. And as a child, we don't see that part of it. We just see dad angry, dad mean, dad pissed off, dad yelling at mom. And that will destroy a little boy. It will. You agree with that?
Absolutely. So I went to college. Before I went to college, I served a mission, an LDS mission. Went to college, did all the things that you're supposed to do. Go to college. But while I was at school, I decided to start going into deep diving into myself as far as entrepreneurship. I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, personal development, and I think I scratched the surface at that point. I didn't dive deep into it, but I started scratching the surface. But I ended up dropping out and getting into real estate. Started flipping houses. I learned how to flip houses. So
that was your entry into real estate.
That was my entry into real estate.
Yeah.
And if I can get into real estate, anybody can, because I did not do well in school. I hated school. Well,
there's a lot of get-rich schemes out in the marketplace. Social media is sort of an illusion for the real truth in many cases. They glorify things. They make it look so easy. But you constantly hear this, and it's universal that, every billionaire I know talks about real estate being the lynch, the kingpin that tightened up around their net worth. That was the kind of the thing. They may have a business going, but underneath the business has always got to be the real estate. And that's something I've been hearing for so many years. It's projected out in the marketplace, but people make it look so easy. They don't realize this is a game of time. It's a game of compounding. It's a constant game of effort, but I think there's a bigger word. I've heard you use it before, and it's this idea of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
If someone's trying to get rich right now, because that is the mentality, right? Social media is real. I mean, it's a rented life that we see everywhere, and they all make it look good because they're all selling you something. But if you're out there speaking to a kid right now who's got big ambitions, big dreams, I think Man on a Mission attracts a lot of people that think big about life. They want a bigger life. But how would you advise that kid to get into real estate or start building his portfolio or build his wealth? How do you get rich?
So it's buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate. Get in now. It's everyone I've ever talked to, millionaires, billionaires, they always wish they would have bought that piece of property.
Sure, never ends.
Every time.
Yep.
And I've had experiences where I wish I would have bought that property. I'm sure you've had
experience. Never ends.
I should have bought that property 2 years ago.
If we could only be fortune tellers, and if we could only make decisions based on what's happened from the past and make that the present. Like hindsight's always 20/20. And there's so many times, you know what actually kept me from pursuing something?
What's that?
Was wondering like why no one else has bought this. And it would scare me. So it was actually the opposite fear of the fear of missing out. I would have the fear of getting there first and looking around saying, well, if no one else wants to buy this, maybe this isn't, maybe I'm seeing something. I would doubt myself. The fear would override. Many times I would walk away from something because I was scared that I got there first. But I'll also be honest that those were the same deals the ones I didn't say no to, that became some of the biggest deals I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, massive moves, some entitlement deals that I couldn't understand why someone else didn't see what I saw, and those turned into be like 100x opportunities. It's a big game here, real estate. So trust me, you're speaking my love language. I don't talk a lot about it on this show, but yeah, if you're advising someone to get in the game, you say just start, get in now. At the end of the day, that's still vague.
Yeah.
So, what's a practical piece?
I think house hacking is a phenomenal way to get in. You can literally.
How did you start? Give me your one deal. Make that the thing that you teach.
So I actually, one of the first real estate deals that I did is you hear using other people's money. Mm-hmm. So I ended up partnering. I had no money in this deal. My partner put all the money up front, and mm-hmm. We turned around and made a quick profit on it, and I had no money in the deal. We went in.
This is your first deal. You're young.
Yeah.
How much you make on your first deal?
Oh, my first deal, I probably made 10,000, 5 or 10,000, which was for my first deal. I was excited. I was just dropped out of college, and
you proved that it could work.
Yeah. And before that's the most I ever.
You're not digging trenches. You're not working at Walmart. Mm-hmm. You're not killing yourself. You're not working at a coal mine. A lot to be grateful for, to move a little paper around.
Exactly.
And to pop 10K on the back end.
Yeah. So
that was a simple flip?
Was it a simple fluke?
Simple flip.
Oh, yeah. Cosmetic. Didn't have to tear out any walls or anything. Just put carpet, paint, did a little landscaping. And I did some of the work myself at the beginning. Yeah. Which is fine. As you start to scale, you don't have to do as much of the work if you don't want to. And so I think using other people's money is just huge. And if you don't have any money, if the deal's there, someone will put the money in. And
right, you just have to prove that.
Yeah.
Well, this is something I teach to a lot of the young clients that I coach. I have so many different coaching communities, and this is kind of a universal theme that if I go back with nothing, and what's the easiest place to start if you were literally broke? And what's kind of crazy is my real start into the marketplace, once my head was on straight, I actually owned one pair of shoes. One pair. I had one outfit, no house, and no car. I got out of jail. My apartment had been repoed and everything in it. Which was my clothes. This was when I felt like my life actually started. And my car got repoed, and I had nothing. And so reconnecting to what worked for me, just from a mindset perspective, was this idea that I was just going to go work my ass off. I knew this was my last opportunity in life. There was so much pressure, there was so much guilt, so much shame, so much embarrassment that I was just going to go become a workhorse. And I sort of settled here with my first thought about when I would teach about riches now. I would start here with this idea that I can be the hardest worker in the room. That's kind of a rock statement anyway. So it's fitting for me. And the first job I ever got when I had nothing, I had to borrow my girlfriend at the time's Honda Civic, drive all the way to a town that was 2 hours away for a 5 a.m. shift, so I'd have to get up at 2 a.m. so I could leave the house by 3 a.m. I did that for a whole year, and it was an Amazon facility, 1 million square foot building, 10,000 employees. I got a job as a picker. Again, this is an example of where you're at. Listen to me. This is good. Slip this in your story, bro. And they would rank the top 20 pickers in the building every week. And every week I kept noticing a pattern. It's the same guy as the number one. And again, I had nothing. I'd been through hell. I almost ruined my life. It's a different story. I'm going to tell it as a keynote soon. I never really revealed this. And I had nothing. And I made a decision one day. I don't know what it was, but something came over me. I'm going to be the number one picker in this fucking building. I'm going to be the number one. And I just made a decision. And the problem was I wasn't that good. The guy that was number one had worked there 10 years.
And what's a picker do, Eric, real quick?
You got a gun on your arm. It tells you where in the building to go and what product to buy. Then you got to scan it. You got to match up barcodes and scan it. It may say A1. That might be 10 miles from where you're at in this massive building. You go to the aisle A, go to row 1, shelf 3. You got a little gun on your hand. You have to find the product, find the book, find the whatever, the shampoo, click it, then you put it in your cart. That's a picker. We pick orders, and the gun tells us to go. Then we take full bins when the gun tells us, and we put it on the nearest conveyor belt. Then we get another bin and keep going. 10-hour shifts. You walk all day for 10 hours. You get 1 at lunch break. So what I would do when I decided I was going to be number one, listen, the guy that's there was quick at picking. For me, it would take me 20 minutes to find one product because my eyes just couldn't see things. You might have a bin of 1,000 things, and you got to find like the one little lollipop. Literally, sometimes it was that simple. But dude, there's like 100 lollipops. There's all these different flavors, and you got to find blueberry fucking gazelle, whatever that is. And like, where's the blueberry gazelle lollipop? Like, I don't even know what a blueberry gazelle lollipop is. But sometimes the guy that's really experienced could literally walk up, pop, and go in. That's what this guy number one did. He worked there 10 years. He was so good, man. And I started working hard. So my only way that I was going to be able to beat him, guess what it was? I'd have to run between the picks. Meaning if the gun tells me to go to C3 and I'm at A4, that part of the building, I would literally look around, grab my little cart, and fucking sprint there. I would do that for 10 hours a day. And it took me a long time, but I finally entered the leaderboard. Not number one, way down. Took me months. That's how good these pickers were. When there's 10,000 employees, man, you're going up against a lot of competition that knows how to pick.
Yeah.
And I don't know shit. But I decided I was going to be number one, right? Kept doing it. Kept running. And at some point, I finally entered the top 5, but I couldn't crack number one. I remember thinking, I can't run any faster. Like, I think I'm just going to have to get better at this. Because I was trying to outwork the talent. But it takes a long time to get talent. So I just kept working. And then it happened. Now, I don't know if number one, this guy, his name was Sammy. He was about like a 6'3" guy. Never forget this guy. I don't know if he was feeling sick that day or what was going on. But that week, he did not be number one, and I was. For the first time ever, my name popped up. Well, here's what's interesting, and I'll rewind a little bit, unpack this. He was never number one again. I never left my spot till I quit that Amazon job, which I hated, by the way. It's not like I liked it, but what I realized is even if I hate it, even if I'm a janitor at McDonald's, even if I'm a custodian at Walmart, some job that's just pitiful, that people look down upon.
Yeah.
You put Eric Rock in that shit, this is a mentality, right? It's a spirit. They call this Mamba mentality. It's like the Kobe Bryant thing.
Exactly.
This is my way of winning when I have nothing, is that I'm just going to be the best in this fucking building. I'm going to outwork everyone. I don't give a shit what it takes. And what I realized in that moment was sooner or later, effort and hard work will outpace talent. I learned it in that Amazon facility, and I took that spirit with me the rest of my fucking life right to the studio right here with you. I work hard. I bleed. I give it all. But I wasn't born this way. There was probably always a fire of desire burning in my soul, but I wasn't this way. And that's what I've always seen in you. You have this spirit about you. You know what I mean? This idea that one of the things I really dug in with you is this idea of delayed gratification, like doing the work when no one's watching.
That's exactly
sticking with it.
What I was thinking. Delayed gratification. And all the greats, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, they work, you know, they put in all this hard work, practices, the hours that you don't see them playing on the field or on the court. They're putting hundreds of thousands of hours in. And the same thing is with real estate. You see guys like Grant Cardone,
right.
Pace Morby.
These aren't overnight successes.
Yeah, you think they are because all of a sudden you start
the illusion.
You start seeing some of this stuff, but they put in thousands of hours.
True. Let me ask you real quick. So this is a good topic, by the way. I like this because when you get to like one of my clients is an NFL athlete. I work with him. I'm in his mindset. What I realize, it's not his talent that is keeping him from being a starter. It's his mindset. At some point, all the 1% of the 1% in the NFL, for example, they all work hard. They all bring a lot of effort. They all bring a lot of value. They all bring a lot of talent. You start getting into the Kobe Bryant game. Now it's that next level of effort, that next level of residual practice, relentless practice, obsession practice, beyond the other guys that are obsessed, by the way, that love what they do, that are literally, they live and breathe and eat and sleep with it. There's another level, but now it becomes, I think, about something even more finite when you get to the Tom Brady level. And it's this idea of sort of emotional intelligence, your ability to sort of read every room, Slow down time. When the pressure's on, it's the guys that know how to really hone in on the emotion and the excitement, the endorphins, the adrenaline, and they can slow down time. Now, I think there's universal lessons in business here. This idea of being calm into the storm. How many entrepreneurs you see blow it when pressure hits? They can't handle the pressure. One thing I teach is this framework of turning everything into a game. Gamification in business is a mindset. It is a way to flip the mirror around in your face. If you feel a feeling you don't like and you know it's going to steer you the wrong way, being really emotionally stable and control, this is emotional mastery. I love teaching about stoicism, but really this is what I see in you. I've always seen this since I've known you, is this ability to take a pressurized situation and to be able to slow down time, be very methodical, and lead within the storm and not let the storm take you over. This is rare. You agree?
I do. And actually, I'm thinking of an experience. I don't share this very often, but when I got divorced, there was a time my ex-wife was somewhere, and I just had this feeling. Anyways, I show up to where she was at, and there was a guy there that she was with. He was kind of hammered, and I was like, I'd never wanted to kill anyone before, but I wanted to kill this guy. And
were your little girls around?
They weren't. No, they were alive. They were born, but they weren't.
Oh, I see.
There.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that might have made you kill them if they would have been around him.
Yeah, maybe.
Keep going, man.
Maybe.
Sorry.
But I show up there, and I remember I'm gonna beat this guy's head in. Like I clenched my fists. The most anger I've ever felt in my entire life.
Right there.
And in that moment, I clenched my fists, and I just had a vision. Kind of slow down time is bringing it back to what you're talking about. I just had a vision of like my girls and what would happen if I would have done that.
Wow.
What?
Daddy's in prison all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Or in jail. What if you really hurt the guy?
Mm-hmm.
What if he fell and hit his head and now you're facing life in prison for second-degree murder or first-degree murder if they make the case?
So I think in life, you just have to be able to slow things down. You have to think logically through things.
Right.
And same with real estate. You have to be able to think, okay, here's a situation. The seller is going through this, and it's not just real estate. At the end of the day, there's people behind these transactions. And you're solving someone's problem.
Yeah. Let me tell you, like you triggered the thought in me, and I already referenced it once, but I think it's cool to go a little bit deeper for the audience. I'm always thinking about how to serve these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like actual practical frameworks you can run with that actually serve me, and I think a lot of this stuff will serve you, and probably universally to some degree it serves everyone. Especially when I started getting around really successful people, I realized it's all game. And this is something I don't say often, but power is a game.
Yeah.
You can't say that too loud. It's misinterpreted by most of the population, and it's very savage. It's very cruel in some cases. It seems that way, but it's a dog-eat-dog world, and it is a relentless, brutal game when you start getting up the ranks. And what I've learned from it is they're not up there doing it for money anymore. It's about power, and again, more than that, it doesn't mean these people may not be mission-driven people. It may not be that they are not good people, by the way. But at some point, you cannot rise anymore if you don't know how to play the game of power. And they will crush you. People will take you out. It is a brutal game of lawyers and accountants and CPAs. It's hard, man. And again, like if you don't love the game, is my point, then you're not going to get that far in it. So what I learned early on is that it's all game. What I've done, though, and this is where it's very practical for people that they just can't win. They're stuck. They're always losing. There's always a catastrophe. There's always an emergency. You ever seen those people?
Yeah, they're
toxic. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, right, they are. They bring the most negative sort of spirit into every conversation, but most people's lives are actually engulfed around those type of people. Once I started gamifying everything, you sort of pair gamification with this idea of I'm going to be the hardest worker in the room, and that actually what the hardest worker in the room means, because it doesn't mean I work harder than everyone the rest of my life in every room I go into. It means I always leave an insane amount of value, more value than the next guy. If I see a piece of trash, I'll pick it up. It's the same sort of core concept sort of built into if I come into something, I leave it better than I found it, which already makes you rare.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's just the grocery cart at the store. So number one, this idea of effort, giving everything you have, bleeding in every room, pouring it all out, always leaving value, being the hardest worker. It all kind of relates in my mind. It's all, but I became that. But then I learned the game. And when I started getting around people and realizing, they'd always say, like, check the scoreboard, knowing that like money's the way to keep score, but that's not what they're after. They have more than God in many cases, thinking about what the highest levels of success look like. And as I started applying the game, one thing that was huge for me was knowing where most people fail is not that they don't have the information. It's not that they don't know what to do. It's that there's all these emotions that get in the way, and then people fold. They fold under pressure. Fear steps in, and they don't do the thing. They don't do the action. They don't stick with it. They quit. And I've started to gamify my emotions. If I feel a feeling I don't like, bro, I could slow down time by simply feeling it in my chest. It's like a heartbeat right here, blood pressure, and taking one deep breath. The second I take a deep breath, it gives me a chance to put a system in place. And for me, it's a chess piece. Like, I don't need to get mad at you if you throw an egg at my car, cut me off, and then flip me off.
Yeah.
If I feel it and I want to kill you, pull my gun out, literally, like an emotion of an alpha male that is already having a bad day, and you just almost hurt me. My daughters are in the back. That emotion of me wanting to kill you. Like, again, this is rough, right? Raw shit of a human. If you don't feel that first and know how to react to it, doesn't mean I don't feel it. Doesn't mean you don't feel it. It means the people that really understand like the power of emotional stability, emotional control, stoicism is like, I don't need to blame you or that guy that just hurt me. I don't need to blame anyone. That's the universe. Like, it's a chess game. It's trying to take me out. It's gravity. That's its job. I don't need to act surprised when bad shit happens. That is the whole nature of stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, I think, was a genius. Epictetus was the great philosopher that taught stoicism out of prison, by the way, to Marcus Aurelius, worked himself all the way to the high council and became really the philosopher, one of the most powerful people that's ever lived, but he came from prison. He did it through mindset. It was the most contagious philosophy that's ever been created, because what it meant is, you can't fuck with me. I'm so emotionally stable. And it's not because I don't feel the emotion. It's because when I feel it, I know how to react to it. And for my system that I created, the gamification system, I think about playing chess. And the second I feel a feeling I don't like, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, pull it back, chess piece.
Yeah.
And what I realized, no matter what happens next, it's my decision. I have the power of the next move. And when you've taken the emotion out of it, the negative emotion, you can make a smart move. And the second that happens to be on a freeway, instead of me doing something that could hurt myself, embarrass myself, hurt my family, embarrass me in front of my wife at the very least, something like that, right? It allows me to pull back and realize the smart move right here is no move. I don't want to end up in jail. This guy could pull a gun on me. What if he shoots? Who you never know. And this is where people ruin their lives. One bad emotion, one bad action, and they're dead. I mean, that sounds crazy, right? It's an extreme. But what happens when it's not the extreme? What happens when it's one bad emotion, one bad decision, and you've ruined momentum? Mm-hmm. Something even simpler, like you were onto something. Well, now you just showed your cards to the person who was going to hand you the opportunity. Guess what? You just fucked yourself.
Yeah, I agree. Life is a game 100%. I'm thinking, I had a brother. Well, I have 8 siblings. So I'm 8 of 9.
Wow. Big family.
Big family. Both my parents were married before, then married and had me and my younger brother. But to the point, life is a game. You can learn from others in the game. Like, that's something I've always been big on, is I saw my older siblings do stupid shit they shouldn't have done and gotten, massive amount of trouble and juvie and different things like that. And I feel like that translated to my life, where it's like, okay, I'm going to learn because you've already touched the hot stove. I know the stove is hot. I don't need to touch it, right? And I think in life and business, I think coaches are so important because
right, you could adopt this quickly.
Exactly.
You could skip steps.
Yeah.
You can absorb my energy, my self-belief. You could absorb my systems, my processes, my frameworks, and make them yours quickly. Skip a lot of steps. Yeah. Because they don't teach you shit in school.
Exactly. Yeah. School. Yeah. Like I said earlier,
they teach you to be a victim.
You can act or be acted upon. If you're just sitting in the chair,
right,
they're just feeding you, or same with social media nowadays. It's like you can create content and be a producer and be adding value, pouring into people on social media about life, business, real estate, whatever that is for you. Or you can scroll. And I've been there before, where you scroll for 20 minutes and you're laughing at memes, but after, a few minutes, you're like, what am I doing? You kind of like feel like gray in the brain or something.
Yeah, you're the creator or consumer.
Yeah.
Be the creator. You're giving value to the world. You're entertaining at the very least, but you're giving. You're thinking through the lens of the creator, the entrepreneur, the one that sees how to give value. Yeah, definitely. That is the whole game of social media. And again, like if you don't participate, you're probably going to lose in business these days because it's such a massive tool because everyone is hooked on it. And for me, part of the man on the mission, the why, was showing up social media because I know there's a lot of kids out there that are suffering. There's a lot of children out there that are addicted to it. And who knows? We don't know what it's like to be born with a screen in our face. Mm-hmm. That when we're crying, there's a screen in our face. Like that's the reward system. That's the dopamine hit. But what I do know is the CDC just has released, and this is a little off topic from our conversation, but the CDC, you do have two little beautiful angel twin daughters, so this may land heavy with you. But the CDC just released a report that was jarring. It was about teenagers. And in America, especially with teenage girls, the amount of depression. Yeah. So 53% of girls, that are teenage girls, say they're persistently sad. I think it's 36% of teenage girls have thought about killing themselves. It gets worse. 24%, so basically that's 1 in 4. 1 in 4 teenage girls in America have planned their suicide. This is a CDC report, by the way, so I think these numbers may be fluffed to try to make them look as good as possible, meaning it could be worse. And 13% of teenage girls in America have actually killed themselves or have tried. Now, I am not an expert, don't claim to be. My instinct says this is the byproduct of social media. And so if you're going to be using it, know your why. I'm fighting to help people. I'm fighting to have an alternative voice. I'm fighting to be a leader, to bring some value. Because I know there's a little girl somewhere right now that comes from a good family, and she's in there selling pictures on OnlyFans, and some creepy old guy is DMing her and chatting her, and this is the easy way to make money now, and it's been indoctrinated that this is not a big deal. This is woman empowerment, and all these little kids now are comparing themselves to other girls who look like they have more, they have better lives, and even in my own family, I was talking to my brother and my sister-in-law. The biggest problem they see with my teenage nieces is they compare their lives to every single girl they know. And they feel like they don't have it as good. And she goes, Eric, you have to speak about this. It's so bad. Now, you have two twin daughters. Again, like, you're such a solid guy. You're so successful. It's funny, we're not even talking about money right now or business. But you're so successful but these are the conversations that I think have more value. And your opinion is valid because you went through hell to sort of become the man that you are. But now you have two twin little girls. What is your approach when you consider how to turn these girls into something that will be productive to society? You know, what is the thing that you would tell the audience? Yeah,
I think just giving them the mindset, creating a resilient work ethic, kind of what you were talking about earlier. Have the work ethic, have resilience. So this is funny. I when I'm with Lucy and Hazel, I tell them if they're doing something scary, hey, what's your name? I'm Lucy, or I'm Hazel. What can you do? I can do anything, and we do it a couple times. And then by the third time they say it, I'm Lucy, I can do anything, or I'm Hazel, I can do anything. And I think it just you can see their posture change. And the other thing is not only that, but I have to be the example.
Well, I was going to ask you, how important is it you're the actual hero?
Yeah,
a real hero.
Yeah, I have to be the hero. I can't, if they see me, making phone calls and telling people, hey, I'm going to be at this appointment at this time, and they see me cancel, or they see me lying, or, so I'm very intentional for myself, because going back to my story earlier with my dad, I saw him say things, out in public, but then behind the scenes, that was not the case. And so for me, it was very impactful.
That's heavy, bro. Think about, you said that so quick. Just unpack this for a minute with the audience. How many of you guys out there are lying every day right in front of your children? And they watch you lie. They see you lie. They know you're lying. They see you manipulate. They see you cheat. They see you cut corners. They see how angry you get. They see how you treat mommy. They see all the things that you would never show the world. You've exposed yourself to your children because, they're just kids. They don't notice. I think kids are so much more smarter. And again, it's the emotional scars that are left all over humanity that come from watching mommy and daddy say, hey, you could be anything you want, just like you do. Mm-hmm. You could go live the craziest life. Well, you could live the dream. Well, then why aren't you, mommy? Why aren't you, daddy? Like what I think the congruencies, going back to that word, it's a powerful word. If you don't have congruency between your mind, body, spirit, and soul, and that direct connection, actual actions that are consistent on a regular basis, and you project that to anyone, even a child, but you're not living it, you're not being it, you're not it, everyone out there should put pressure on themselves to perform at this high level because their kids are watching, right?
Yeah. One thing that I live by is being honest, transparent, and authentic.
Is that your mission?
That's my mission.
It's a good mission.
My mission is to encourage.
What's the payoff with that mission? Because that's a good one.
Yeah, my mission is to encourage everyone else to live honestly, transparent, and authentically. Because in today's world, social media, I think there's so many great things. You and I can. That's how I met you, was through social media, and I've made many other good connections that way. But by being honest, transparent, and authentic in a world that's so fake, it's so easy to.
Yeah. I got to take this one.
Yeah, take it.
I got to take this one deeper, though. In the end of the day, it's like we're all going to die.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to get to the end and have lived a life where I wasn't transparent, I wasn't authentic, and I wasn't honest. At the very least, I'd want to get to the end and recognize the greatest version of myself that I could have been if God gives me the chance to see what I was supposed to do with my life. Mm-hmm. What's crazy is I fell from grace early in my life. And I always thought that really disqualified me from being able to even do what I'm doing now. Sort of packed that away. I was going to win. I created a winning mentality. I leveraged it all. And I thought that material things would sort of be the barometer of achievement that would sort of help me one day be at peace with who I am, number one. And number two, would one day make me feel proud, but more importantly, make my dad proud of me, which was such an underlying theme my whole life. Hey, Dad, I'm winning. Do you see, Dad? I've won. Look where I'm at, Dad. Look who I'm with, Dad. Just, like validation. And sort of like, in the end, like, did my life mean anything? And I think the core now where I'm at sitting is, even in your mission, I feel it. Honesty, transparency, and authenticity. I would just connect it to this deeper root that we're all going to die. And if you're not thinking about that, what you want your life to look like in the end, and sort of rewinding it to now, that should be a roadmap. Because if you want it to look like that in the end, what are you doing now? And if you want to be a hero to your children, that's another powerful thought. These are frameworks, you guys, that you can put in place before you make bad decisions. Before you put the donut or the Twinkie in your fucking mouth. Put a powerful why to it to get you out of the emotion that's going to make you say, fuck it, I'll start tomorrow. That's what everybody does. And what I call that is quitting. If you say you're going to start tomorrow, you've already quit on yourself. You fucking liar. No offense.
Yeah, you start today. Don't procrastinate.
Yeah, you got to be, I don't know if you talk to yourself this way. I talk to myself this way. That's why I'm not afraid to say it out loud. It's because I know I'm just talking to myself. Mm-hmm. I'm holding myself accountable. I'm getting into the universe. Like, there's a little weak procrastinating voice in me too that's lazy, that wants to eat Cheetos and Doritos and stuff. Yeah, I name mine. He's Little Rocky. He's a little baby boy bitch. He complains. He's always got a problem. It's always too hot or too cold. Poor me. He's a little victim. You know what I mean? Like, he's not comfortable on this, in this beautiful house. Like, there's always something wrong with that. And I think one thing that people don't understand when you look at people you admire or you look at heroes, what a hero actually is it's not that the hero doesn't feel the things you feel. It doesn't have the fears you have. It doesn't have the sort of the lack of discipline that you have. Everyone has it. It's part of the human experience. Mm-hmm. It's only those who are self-reflective and master it and can move past it anyway, who walk with fear anyway. But it's not that they don't feel fear. It's not that I don't have an urge. It's that I set standards in my life that keep me showing up even if I don't feel like it. I set standards in my life that says, I don't really want to go get that grocery cart out there. I didn't even leave it there, but I will see it and I will do that. And somehow I know I'm depositing in my deposit box. I'm putting these tiny little deposits in that make me feel, just at the very core, it's a little selfish. It makes me feel like I'm a quality human. But that also is just the standard I decided to set. Keyword decided. I made a decision. It's a standard that I set. So now I got to live up to the standard that I set. Or if not, I'm a fraud. I lie to myself. I'm a piece of shit. That's where kids see that dad go wrong. They'll see him set a standard, but they don't live up to it. It makes you a fraud. Mm-hmm. Now, even if you're not, maybe that's a little harsh, right? Well, why don't you just start talking to yourself that way? Again, what's the lesson, practical lesson for the audience? Put a powerful mission or message or emotion to every action where you're doing something where you deep in your soul, you know, like you should be going left, but you're going to go right. And you're going to justify it. Well, now put a powerful why to it that overrides. It's kind of like my idea with fear. If you ask the right question, you'll get a different outcome. So if you feel a feeling that's causing fear, it's making you want to go left, reframe it, ask a different question, and I can get you to go right. Like this idea of like, instead of, if there's a problem that you're facing and it's stressing you and you're overwhelmed and you're trying to figure out how to solve this problem and you're stressing over it, and there's easy routes everywhere and you kind of know what's right or what's not right, but say you're still confused. One of the frameworks I love to teach is this, and I think this is really good. What would power do right now? How would power answer this problem? What would conviction do? I love that word, conviction. What would conviction do right now in this moment? What would wisdom do? What would courage do? Right now in this moment when I'm stressed and I'm overwhelmed and I'm worried about what he or she thinks and all the things that humans do, all the rabbit holes, all the negative thoughts, all the automatic negative thoughts, what would courage do right now? It is such a powerful reframing of the problem, and I bet you your outcome is different. And oftentimes, that leads you to a place of peace. You start mastering yourself, it leads you closer and closer to peace. Because in the end, isn't that all we're really looking for?
Yeah.
Being happy.
Yeah.
And that's part of the transparency process, the authentic process, the honesty process.
Yeah. I know this podcast, so some people might not be seeing you, but you're jacked. And so I relate. You know, sometimes, do you ever feel like you don't want to go to the gym? Maybe at the beginning.
Want to open this rabbit hole? Yeah, of course. I mean, it happens, but it's rare.
Yeah.
I'm a disciplined son of a bitch. I've been doing this for so many years, and I'll be honest with you, I came out of a heavy addiction when I was in my 20s. OxyContin. I had 2 injuries in high school that left me secretly popping pills like a motherfucker. And it almost led me to my death. I had a gun pulled on me, like point blank touching my skull. They thought I was wearing a wire. I got busted by the DEA. I was on probation. Whoa. Because I worked with the DEA. Thank God I didn't get sentenced to prison 25 years, but then I had a probation violation, and I was this close by a hair of going to prison. And even on that first year probation, I was pissing. I had clean piss in a bottle in a microwave I taped to my inner thigh. I was still fucked up, just playing with fire. No idea how close I'd come to the end. And so when I got shook and awake, really scared straight, and I lost everything, and I had to move back to my parents' house, and rock bottom. Everyone's got a rock bottom. The gym was the one thing that was there for me. It's the only thing I knew to do. I sort of reconnected with the earlier version of Eric, who was a hardworking kid that wanted to play baseball, that his dream was to be a baseball player. It's the only thing I knew to do, the only instinct I had. And I just started making, it's a standard that I set. It's, I'm going to go to the gym for the rest of my life every day. It's not about there's no outcome I'm looking for. It's not about my body. I could give 2 fucks about my body. It's about identity, that I do this, I eat, I breathe, I sleep, I gym. And when you can make anything your identity.
Keep your word.
Yeah. So again, why would this be valuable for anyone? Because this is almost illogical. No one lives that way. Who could live that way? Well, listen, man, if you have an addictive personality, I'll just start with you. And I would argue most people kind of do deep down in their soul. Somewhere in there's something that you're repetitive of that's not healthy. That replacement of the dopamine response to a drug was replaced with the endorphin was the primary objective response to the gym. And I never stopped. I went every day, sometimes twice a day. I'd go sit in the sauna, and I slowly healed myself. And every day I get a little more confident, a little more confident, a little more confident. And then all of a sudden I became the #1 picker in the building at Amazon. And all of a sudden I had a standard. I'm the hardest worker in the room for the rest of my life. Again, the rest of my life. I decided this. No skill, no talent, nothing to lean back on, no money, nothing, no car, repoed. And guess what? That mentality took me far. Yeah, so when you ask me about the gym, I got to give it to you, bro. I'll do this till I die, but it's a spiritual thing. It's a church thing. It's a love thing. It's a deep connection to God through the church of the gym. And that has carried me so far. Now, every day when I wake up and I go to the gym in the morning, you know what happens?
What?
A different Eric Rock has a small window of time to be alive and awake. He thinks things that are impossible and it makes them believable. He sees a vision that becomes closer to reality than it actually is. I start dreaming. And I build a lot of courage. And in those moments of courage and that flow state's when I make hard phone calls. I do all my hard things after the gym. If I got to fire someone, if anything I'm dreading, I do it when I'm in that animalistic savage state, because by the time 7 p.m. rolls around and I'm exhausted, because I bleed every day. Till the bitter end, I'll bleed. Just the intensity of this conversation, I'll bleed till the end of the day. So by the time that time rolls around, I'm so weak, pathetic, and I'm honest about it. And it doesn't matter, because I've already killed it all day. I've slayed dragons all day, and I built myself this way. But oftentimes I'll be driving home, or it'll be late at night. I'll be laying in bed, and I'm exhausted. I'm thinking to myself, what did I do today? I was so embarrassing. Why did I say that? Oh, I can't do that. Oh my God, I told the whole world on social media I'm going to be doing this. Can I really do this? All the doubt sets in. The imposter sets in. The lies start creeping into my brain. And I'm too tired, too exhausted, too far from my flow state, from the mornings, like dopamine hits, the endorphin hits, the adrenaline hits. I'm so far from it that I can't even correct myself. But here's what's good. I'm laying in bed in a beautiful home, my beautiful wife, and I'm just going to go to bed. And I know tomorrow morning is a new morning, and I get to reconnect to that powerful flow state. And even if I'm a little whiny now, dowdy now, a little Rocky pops out and starts, questioning everything I just did today, which happens all the time to me. What happens is once those endorphins start kicking back in, it's like my brain reconnects to yesterday's flow state, and I can re-sow the seeds and pick up right where I left off. I've been living that way for decades. 16, 17 years of going to the gym almost every day. I have not missed a gym day. I think I had COVID, which was the sickest I've ever been in my life, maybe 3 years ago. I'm pretty sure that was the last day I didn't somehow tax my central nervous system. Like, I might not have always made it to a gym if I'm traveling, I'm somewhere, but I was in the room. I do a routine that checks the box of endorphins. I get there somehow. Could be push-ups, pull-ups, bar dips. But at the end of the day, at least I get to say I checked that box, and there's some sort of connection to me and my standard that almost is like, I can't live. It'll bug me too much. This is what obsession looks like. This is what a quality addiction actually looks like, that will actually serve you in life. So I always advise someone, no matter what you're doing, where you're going, who you are, what your business is, what you're doing, why don't you tack on the health piece as your primary number one goal? And it's the easiest way to start showing up to your kids as an actual hero. Is to be a physical representation of discipline. Because if you can walk into a room and own that, that's the one thing you can't buy. That's the one thing money can't buy. And the one thing that you would give any amount of money for in the world would be to have your health back if you're about to die. If you neglect your body and you left 15 years on the table because a disease creeps in that you ignored, and you ignored the symptoms, and you kept living a life that's killing you, you would pay $1 billion if you had it to get another year back if you were told you're going to die tomorrow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You feel that?
Yeah. And I there was a time where I was a little overweight and wasn't working out, and I just was not performing.
Well, you probably own your business.
Yeah.
Your money becomes the driving force for a lot of people. This is where it's good to have a coach like me, because people think they're buying into business, to real estate, to retail, all the things that I teach, making money. But the first place I take you is your body. The second place I take you is to your emotions and your mindset. And the rest is easy. You already know what to do on the rest.
And it's crazy how everything's so connected. Because if you're...
It all connects.
It's all connected. If you're, if you're not healthy, but you have all the money in the world, it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. Well, you're getting in a whole framework of like, your mind can create bliss out of thin air if you choose to. The power of your mind is incredible. But let me be honest. There's a lot of very wealthy people out there. They're living the dream. Shit, they're all my friends. Half of them are. And I watch them lie all the time. They act like they're healthy. I see people all the time tell they're healthy, then they crack a Diet Coke. Like, oh, you think a Diet Coke's fucking healthy? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Like, crazy to me that you think a Diet Coke is healthy. Like, dumb shit. Like people have no concept of what health is, but they act like it. They talk apart. But here's the other thing. People that are really successful, that are clearly out of shape and overweight and not taking care of themselves, I don't look down upon. It's not a big deal at all. It's very common, actually. It's probably more common than not. But what a powerful flex that would be if this person could be as physically successful as they are financially successful. That part to me is more important to get this right than that right. Because now I know how to make money.
Yeah.
The hard part is the discipline of showing up every day for your body, because it's so easy to eat Twinkies. I love cake. Bro, I am a king of sweets. I like gummy bears. Ask Colton, bro, how many gummy bears I eat? You eat a lot of gummy bears. Well, hold on, bro. I have rules. There's
your pre-workout.
There's rules and standards, and they fit within the boundaries of the standards I set. It doesn't mean you don't live. It doesn't mean you do what you want still. But it means if you create a framework that will make you successful with health, and you have boundaries where these are like cheat days, call them cheat days, every vacation, all rules off the table. Listen, if you work your ass off every day and you create a rule that when I'm on vacation, no rules, throw me the gummy bears, Colton. And again, I don't have to live a stress like setup around it. Or if I fast enough that I literally can't eat enough calories in a day of just gummy bears to sort of offset the calorie indifference alone as far as just calories in and calories burnt. Just whatever your framework is. But what the problem is people try to set a framework and they break the framework. But it doesn't mean you have to be perfect.
I want to talk to those who have addictive personalities, because I think I do. I grew up LDS, so I never drank. Once on accident.
You never drank?
Well, I can tell you the story real quick. I was working. It was a hot summer day. I was working for my friend's dad, and I went in, and there was a bottle cap, and there was lines on one and no lines on the other one. I thought he said we could have the ones with lines on it. Took a swig of it, and I guess it was spiked with vodka or something.
But it was one sip?
I threw up. Yeah, I was like...
It was one sip?
Well, it was... I chugged. I was like, go. But anyways, but...
So LDS you are, did you have... I know a lot of successful LDS people. Why are they so successful?
Oh, man. I have a few friends who ask me that. I think there's a few factors. I think it comes down to what you're talking about. It's discipline, I think, is one.
But it's part of the culture of the LDS is to ingrain it in children, right? The part of the mission, man on a mission, children's mission, and LDS. How funny these go together. But I know some of the most solid guys I've ever met are LDS. There's a lot of de factos, people that left the church, and there's a lot of hostility in there. There's rumors that spread. Non-LDS members kind of make fun of the whole thing as a cult. You hear it all.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, just being practical from my perspective, some of the most incredible families I've ever met, some of the most well-respected children I've ever met come from LDS. It's weird how so many children are so polite. They look you in the eyes. They shake your hand. How you doing, Mr. Rock? You might see a 4-year-old little girl show incredible respect to you. And what I always see with LDS is when I see their kids, and this is just what I've noticed, my experience with them, I can't help but give a nod to the parents. Like, dude, you guys are doing something that most of America ain't doing. I don't know why every other kid around me is a brat except the LDS kids, why they're all crying and screaming and no one's got control. And then LDS kids are always so poised. They're always so, that's just my experience. But how funny that at 18 you leave to go on a mission in the church you grew up in.
Yeah, I was 20, but yeah.
Well, you get my point.
And then you knock doors for 2 years or 18 months for the women if they decide to go. But I think it distills, you get discipline and then resilience. Because, I had thousands of doors, maybe more than that, slammed in my face. I served in the South. So, the Bible Belt, right? So it just created...
What a cool experience to go off in the real world. You're still a kid, but there's no shit. You know what I feel like it is the entitlement seems to be forced out of an LDS child's life, even if they grew up privileged.
You know what? I think every...
Am I wrong?
Even if they... Yeah. There's probably a few that still are privileged, you know what I mean? Or maybe it just doesn't shake out of them, but...
Yeah, but
for the most part... But
I couldn't imagine going on a mission at 18. Mission? When you want me to go knock doors?
But I think
seems like torture.
Every young man, at least young men, and maybe young women too, should serve a mission or the military to get that structure. Yeah. That's my personal opinion.
My point. So there's intrinsic value that comes out of it that's unique to the marketplace that gives LDS kids an advantage in life, period. End of story.
And I think it's back to that
delayed... But agree, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
that's my point.
From a young age, it's that delayed gratification.
Yeah, but that's my point. It pulls entitlement out of the child that is forced to go live a mission, a life of service. You're not stacking chips during that time either. It's all for service.
Yeah.
Imagine working for 2 years and making no money. You're giving it all away. You're doing it for charity, essentially. You're doing it for God. But there's got to be and it's weird when I have so many LDS people that I know that are just incredible people. They all talk about their missions as some of the best times in their life. It's really special, actually. It's not like forced. You think it's like, these punk kids must hate it. They're forced upon it. No, they have reverence for it, respect for it, love for it. Even kids that left the church for whatever reason, it happens. And a lot of people have their whys too. Powerful whys of why you leave the church. Some of them are incredibly valid. The amount of judgment that you get if you try to live a lifestyle that's not conducive with that family. Even this like social media, or a buddy of mine that is a big influencer. He's left his family, his brothers, they haven't talked to him in years.
Oh, wow.
They look at what he's doing as like he's a fraud, he's a liar, he's this, but this guy helps hundreds of people in close communities, and his message, the broader message, is he helps thousands of people. I know him deeply, and it's a shame to me that they're not proud of him, that you don't see him out in the light risking it all, like living courageously. But what they see is like, oh, that's my brother look at his ego. It's so easy. Like, they didn't see him grow up. They didn't see him change, the transformation, like, because they don't want to live that way. And so again, I don't know if families put so much pressure on you to live the way that we are teaching you to live, but it seems like for the people that leave the church or have sort of resentment for it, it usually sort of bound up into sort of that framework. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I most of my siblings kind of left the church.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, my older siblings. My younger brother is...
What did they not like about it?
You know what? I haven't really had a conversation with
Never?
them about it. Mm-mm.
Are you guys not close?
No, we're close.
They left the church and you don't know why?
Yeah, I know. Well, I know... Yeah, I don't really know why. I've had a couple conversations.
And that was an important part of growing up in your life, right? Obviously, you went on your own mission. That's like a heavy thing to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just going to go knock on doors for 2 years? Like, it's weird to people that didn't grow up that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have to do this? Who's telling me I have to do this? The priest? Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go knock doors in the heat. What?
Yeah.
You're going to go to El Salvador, Nathan, and you're going to go out there and you're going to work with the poor. Like, as much as I love it, I think it's noble. I'm just putting myself into 18-year-old Eric Rock. Say, no, like, I'm not doing that. Again, like, more of an entitled attitude for sure. But like, I was going to play baseball. I'm going to college. Like, what do I got to do? You know what I mean? Like, just it wasn't part of my structure. But I have a lot of reverence for it because I see what the young men that get turned out of it more than anything. I see them as incredibly productive in society. Big hearts, big givers, and they all seem to, like, at least the ones I'm thinking of, they all seem to be very successful.
Yeah.
They built that discipline at a young age, and the laws of compounding nature serve them very well because I feel like all of them were very responsible, including yourself. Somehow, it's a good formula that maybe America should look at, because now what we do with our kids is not that. Like, in America overall, communities outside of LDS, like, go look at every major metropolitan city in America. Go see what their schools are like. Go see what their homes look like. There's not a lot of discipline going on anymore.
You keep bringing up schools, and so my girls are almost to the age where, 4, I'm going to be putting them in school here pretty soon. And I'm looking at different options, but like the schooling system, the reason I'm looking at different options is because the schooling system doesn't teach finance. It doesn't teach discipline. It teaches, hey, here's a bunch of facts that don't really matter. It's just I think it kills creativity. And so I think I was talking to my brother about this the other day. When we're young, we have all these big dreams, big ideas. It's just like you were talking about. But as we get older, we have a teacher that says, no, you can't do that. My brother, I remember he wanted to be a professional football player. Well, actually, every young man wants to be that, right? But he had a teacher that told him no, and since then he was like, okay, and he ended up not pursuing that or whatever. But I think we need more people in the world that just encourage and are authentic and transparent, and
that's why we do the show.
Yeah.
You give a look under the hood a little bit about what it looks like to actually win, and it doesn't matter where you come from, you know what I mean? But you're going to learn more from being around a person that is doing what you want to do than you'll ever get from some teacher who's not done what this kid wants to do.
When you get into the real world, I dropped out of college, and I think BYU, and there are other different schools that are more conservative that teach, more life skills, but I don't know why they're not teaching finance or negotiate people skills. You know what I mean? I think going on a mission taught me, because we had a budget. We'd get so much a month for groceries, and we could only drive so many miles, and otherwise we'd have to bike or walk. And so I think it just teaches a lot of different life skills.
Yeah, you're in the real world, man.
During those 2 years, and I think maybe that's why so many LDS people are successful later on in life because they learned it, 18 and 19 rather than going to get a 4-year degree.
I have a ton of rich LDS people live all around me, like really rich.
Yeah.
They're all around me. They live all around the lake. They're flocking to North Idaho. A big community out here.
Yeah.
And they all got money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I feel like the conversation keep going. It's intriguing, man. I tell you, it's inspiring what you've done, inspire where you're going. I can encourage you to keep stepping in the light. At this point, like anytime I see real intrinsic value in a person, I always challenge them, hey, go get in the light, build a personal brand. Like the world needs to hear from you. They need to hear your story. And I think the more people that are finding the courage to do it and really leverage these tools around it, I think it only helps society because why? Children are only getting sadder. So yes. I think it requires a lot of good guys to step up to sort of fight against the grain. And there's a lot of evil forces out in the marketplace working. So again, even in this show, there's a much deeper why that we connect to why we do this. And the more good, the more positive, the more powerful stories, the more people that are finding their real purpose in life, knowing that it's about giving in the end. It's always about giving. That collectively, hopefully we can overwhelm the forces of evil that are just sweeping everywhere. When I was a little kid, speaking to your point about creativity, the only porn I ever saw, and this is in high school, was on Channel 61 when we first got cable. We used to have those clicker TVs that go like 10 channels on a clicker. Then we got this little cable box. And I remember for the first time we had cable, it was the coolest thing. We had like 25 channels, right? But me and my brother found when you go to Channel 61, it was a fuzzy white screen, but every once in a while you'd see a boob. And that, you know what I mean? Like, boob. But
how old were you?
That was my social media as a child. It was what you could see, touch, and feel. You had to be creative if you wanted to think outside the boundaries of this room. Mm-hmm. Now it's a never-ending images in these children's faces, and we don't know the long-term ramifications of it. So my only instinct is well, I'm going to go out there and lead. I'm going to go out there and live a life of courage, transparency, authenticity. I'm going to explore the boundaries of what I can do while I'm alive on this planet. And the more I've done it, the more I've realized what an unfair advantage it actually is to build a brand, to step in the light, to give your story, your testimony to the world. And then I had started realizing that every great man and every great woman that ever lived, whose names we remember, that are ingrained in history forever, they all left a mark. And one of the core themes that is universal between all of them is every single person, including Jesus Christ himself, Mother Teresa, Ben Franklin, Walt Disney. I could go on and on and on. Steve Jobs. It could be anybody that left a mark that was valuable. They all had the courage to step in the light. It's universal.
Yeah.
We don't consider, like Warren Buffett, I use this as an example. Like him or hate him, it's a really irrelevant. The guy changed the game of investing forever. He did the impossible. His story's genius. Go read Snowball. You can learn a lot. And there's countless lessons in that. It's a detailed book, basically an autobiography, even though it's not. But it really opened my eyes to him. But one of the things I realized is, man, even this guy, he's one of the most powerful personal brands in the world. Here's this odd guy with a weird temperament who's almost 100 years old now, still going, still investing. Charlie Munger, over 100, still investing, young as day, man. These are interesting stories, right? But what you realize is that mild-mannered temperament, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's been in the light every single day for the last 80 fucking years. He's out there telling a story. He's in front of people. He's in front of the barbarians, speaking his soul. We are so afraid as humans to get out in the light and to be consistent with it and to be bold with it. But it's only the ones that do, that build brand and become really good at something. But again, there's a combination of all these forces that must work together to leave a mark in the world that has a unique scale to it, that has a lasting effect to it. And those are the names you remember in life. Now, I just think there's an inspiring connection between that reality and people that are in our audience that are big dreamers, that have big visions for their life, that want to do something impossible or something amazing.
Yeah, you can do it if you're listening to this.
Absolutely, but you've got to understand that the light is an important part of that process. Mm-hmm. It just is.
And
it's universal.
Yeah, and something that's helped me be more active on social media is, what if there's just that one person that needed to hear that day? I'm
good framework.
Yeah, if there's just one person that you can help that day, or you save someone's life because an experience that you went through or something that you shared with them.
Amazing. Bro, we gave a ton of value to this audience today. There's a lot of just powerful points that were brought up, intriguing conversation, a lot of stickiness in that one. Where can we send people if they want to follow you, man, and follow you on your journey?
Yeah, so, I'm on all the platforms. You can look me up, Nathan Danner. I think my Instagram is Nathan_Danner8. So that's where I'm probably the most active.
We'll link you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric, I appreciate you. You bring so much value to the community and just being a light to the world.
Keep rising, brother.
All
Appreciate
right,
you.
you too.
All right.
I'm a man.